Okay, everybody, this is the finest moment, and we have almost every member now here on the Boochow Radio Podcast, and I've waited for this moment for the longest time. We have Raggedstar.
Hello.
We have Joe, aka Phoenix08.
Hey, guys.
And for the first time ever, making his debut on the show just in time before the show is closed, Shintai.
Hey, what's up?
Oh,
Shintai, you don't know how much you could have contributed to past conversations.
Oh man, I'm just. I wish I could have said something here.
It's okay. I mentioned stuff for you.
okay, guys. It's
You were there in spirit.
11 people here now. I've counted it. 11 people on the podcast.
before the recording, I cried a couple of times just because we've been doing this since 2009, and it's just like so many gosh damn good memories we had on the show. It's sad to say that it's time to put it to let it go, and these guys talked me out of it, saying that you can always come back and whenever you're ready. It's just that on my current situation, it's just like it looks like I have to take this step in life and I can't come back.
That's the thing though. That's the thing though. These kind of things, they always end. You think it's gonna dictate the rest of your life, but it doesn't.
The internet is forever. There are if you look on iTunes, there are tons of podcasts that are just done, but they're still there because the internet is forever. That's what some of these idiot criminals don't realize. The internet is forever. So just because you say that you're done for now doesn't mean that you're done completely. I've even seen a couple of these podcasts where there has been nothing for years. Then all of a sudden they come back and say, hey, life is equaled out for us. We're going to try to do this again. And
really,
bam,
Gex.
they've started it up.
Really, Gex, you're not alone. Like, almost every YouTuber, every podcaster out there goes through this at one point in their life.
Yeah, I think a lot of changes.
I went through it and shed a few tears too. It's not easy, man.
Yeah.
I've even gone through it and I haven't produced anything until recently.
Yeah. I recently left YouTube because there was a lot of things that came into my mind, and you know what? I'm gonna miss those days of making videos, but I think it's for the better for myself. Like, I was feeling overwhelmed and I have to think about my life, and all the comments I got were very meaningful. I didn't specifically cried, but I did felt pretty speechless. Like, I kind of got choked up a bit. And you know what? Just because you're finishing something doesn't mean the legacy is dead. I always say that. I always think of the song "Show Must Go On" by Queen. And with that chorus, inside my heart is breaking, but my smile will stay on. So you really got to think of that, and think about that. You brought something that inspired a lot of people.
You have good taste in music.
Thanks.
And also, dude, I hate to say this, but look at even the 11 here. Some of us weren't even producing any content until you entered the world and became Gexup.
Hey, Zookstar just took a year break just last year, didn't you?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
All right.
Well, in 2008 or 2009, I did something like that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I did something similar as well. When I first started making videos, I would just get on a webcam and I'd just start blabbing. And I took a break from that for a long time because I kind of realized I need to completely reevaluate how I do things, because they were fun for what they were, but I felt like I could do so much more. And nowadays I feel so much more content with the work that I produce because I put so much more effort into it now. And I think that taking that break and reevaluating what I did and seeing how I can improve, I think really in the end made my work just so much better.
All right.
Yeah, I had something very similar to what he did in that, when I was starting up, all of my videos were very, very cheap. I had a
20-year-old camera I was using. The videos sucked because I never actually scripted anything. And then I just kind of left it for about a year and a half and started it back up with a new format and everything. And this website, which is basically as a result of this podcast, is probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me. So if it weren't for you, Gexup, I probably would not be still doing videos. So I have to thank you for that very much.
And what you see here, Gexup, even if you never produce anything ever, you have your stuff out there and you have kind of a legacy, you have inspired people, you cannot ask for more, you know? It's not about that you do something forever, it's that you have done something meaningful, you know? At least that's how I see it.
Alright, thanks guys. Now it's Hannu's turn.
Yeah, somebody's been silent for a while.
He's just polite.
I have honestly nothing to contribute to this conversation.
But
we all speak from the heart and are passionate, and he just says nothing.
Everyone was talking about their breaks and their stuff to doing, and I've never had a break. I'm never gonna stop.
That's what makes you my favorite guy on the internet. I mean, you're like one of the few guys on the internet that actually accepted my invitation to appear on the show and appear on my website. Most of the guys that I thought was really, good, and I wanted them to be on the site, they all turned me down. But you're the one who kept me going throughout all these years because you had cojones, man. You didn't even give a fuck about what people think. You just posted it and say, there.
So you're basically saying Hannu is like the manly man that says, ha, you're crying and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna stop.
I'm crying for you, Hannu.
It's like Conan. It's like
I was
Conan
something
the
like
Barbarian.
Cendoo said something about it. You are not alone, and you are not alone.
I was thinking of Whitney Houston's "I Will Always Love You" personally.
Where's my lighter?
Wait.
Oh, come on.
Lighter?
You weren't here for the Michael Jackson part. Never mind.
Okay.
This is like Conan the Barbarian.
I was gonna.
Whatever.
I was just gonna say I also sort of took a break. Like when school got heavy demanded, I just completely put my videos aside until it was all sorted out.
Yeah.
A lot of people were screaming at me to make them, but those where they nows. But I just couldn't.
Okay, guys, you guys made me feel so much better because, man, it's just like for the longest time I just did not want to release my, let anybody know what were my favorite games of all time, because that's kind of the magic about like being the reviewer and show what kind of gamer you are, and then finally witnessing some followers that really has the similar taste as I do. And then later on, we had like, last time I checked on YouTube, I had over 4,000 subscribers, and imagine putting all that number of people in a room. That is a lot, and not everybody could even reach that high. And I'm just, I'm not here to brag, but I'm just really happy to see that there were a lot of people that actually related to my taste in gaming, and I'm just really happy to see that, I started coming on the internet. I started doing YouTube when I first came to Japan and meet High Wings and Amuia, which was like a new chapter of my life. And this big step that I'm taking is actually the end of that chapter. And yeah, that's the reason why I've been, so highly emotional about like towards this stuff, because that midlife crisis that, almost every YouTuber have faced, it happened to me. So without further ado, it's finally time to reveal my top dozen favorite games of all time. Yes, all right, let's all applause. Come on. Yay, Gexup!
My hands are getting red! It hurts. I can't clap, man.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. I like to remind everybody that a lot has changed since I started, posting videos like years before. It's like there are some aspects, like for example, my Naughty Dog vs. Insomniac game series, where I kind of regretted giving it such a hard time, like giving Spyro the Dragon 2 fingers out of 5, and only giving like Spyro 2 and Crash Bandicoot Warped only 5 fingers, while it deserved like 6 in my personal eyes. And there were also times where I regretted to this day of giving Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 as the game of the year 2009. It still will be that one thing that
Your Spike Video Game Awards moment?
Yes, it was the Spike Video Game Awards moment. It was a bad one, but without further ado, I mean, like, I had the reason why the list had to be postponed for the longest time is because the list keeps changing, and we talked about this in the beginning of the first part of this podcast, where, you know, so many games has changed, your opinions may differ from the rest, so I had to, like, not only just, like, make a list, just make a simple list, but I also had to look at my past self and my future self, and imagine myself if I can go back in time or go into the future and say, hey, you know me, because I'm you, alright? This is the list of my favorite games of all time. Do you agree with me? Come on, you gotta agree with yourself. And I can imagine my younger self from age 0 to age 23.
Wait, age 0?
Yeah, from age 0 to age 23 that actually agrees with this list.
Yeah, he was playing games since the second he was born.
Yes, that's true.
You were playing games in the womb or something?
Have you ever seen his ultrasound? Do you see the picture of his ultrasound? He's holding a Game Boy while cuddled up in there.
It's the ultimate Game Boy.
Now, remember, my very first video game I've ever played was Pilot Wings on the Super Nintendo. And now, since then, this hobby has become like my personal well-being. And starting from there to where I am now, it's finally this time to start counting down my top 12 favorite games of all time. We are joined by Amuia, Cendoo, Hannu, Darabka, Joe, Phoenix 08, TMcBee, Zookstar 1000, Raggedstar, Shintai, and the Retrokaiser.
Yay.
Okay, guys.
Wow.
And the other members are here in spirit.
There's no more time for holding back because it's about time to give out some honorable mentions.
Realize I have to go in like an hour and a half.
I'm sorry. Okay.
The almost best game.
Okay. Here are some honorable mentions. Alien vs. Predator by Capcom from the arcades. Another World. Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie.
Aww.
Beyond Good and Evil.
Whoa.
Blackwell Deception.
Yes.
The Curse of Monkey Island. Dreamfall, The Longest Journey. The first review I've ever gave a 7 fingers out of 5 because of its story. Okay, let me see. Oh goodness, this is just really overwhelming. Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem.
Nice.
Yes. Fallout 3. Fable, The Lost Chapters. Final Fantasy VI. Guild Wars 2, last year's Game of the Year by the Boochow Radio Podcast.
Wow.
Gex, Enter the Gecko. Oh god.
Dude, you are Gex, though.
Yes, I know, but these 12 games defined me as the person I am. Okay. Killer Instinct.
Combo break.
Except the Game Boy.
And someone did predict that you'd have it on your top 12.
Oh man, I was about to, but I remembered that
You've earned your winnings money.
Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah!
Oh, wow.
Wait, that's an honorable mention?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
only an honorable mention. Didn't make the 12.
You Philistine, I'm glad you're leaving.
That made it to number 14 of my top.
Great game though.
That made it in my top 14. Number 14 of my favorite games of all time. Okay, the game that made it to number 13. It almost made it to the top 12, but it could not beat this one. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Oh, you're dead to me. You're dead to me. That was my first game.
Oh, dude, you'd hate me even more. I think that game is overrated.
I'm gone.
Don't be mad at Joe.
Okay, here we are.
You're not Joe, you're not retiring till you do your rant on Skyward Sword.
Okay, here's one.
Yeah, I like Skyward Sword.
Gexup giving Shintai like the death kiss, like in The Godfather 2.
Okay.
Full of grace.
You're death to me. Smooch.
Okay, here it is. Here's some more. Mass Effect. It would have made it if only Mass Effect 3 didn't ruin everything. Okay.
Yeah, it kind of did.
Here's a shocker. Metal Gear Solid 3.
That's not a shock.
Oh.
Dun, 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 dun.
Red Frog
Yeah,
Games
but-
said he will shit a brick if it didn't make it in this list. I hope it's a big brick right now. Okay.
Did somebody threaten to shit a chicken?
What was that about a
I
chicken?
distinctly remember the words shit a chicken from the forums.
Oh, shit a chicken, that's right.
The forums are a magical place.
I bet that shit is
Yes,
clucking
they
all the
really
way
are.
to heaven right now. Okay. Here's some more honorable mentions. Metroid Prime.
Ooh, good.
The Neverhood.
Oh, wow.
That's good.
Oddworld Stranger's Wrath.
That's a good one.
Okay. Pokemon Silver Version.
Not bad.
Obviously Crystal made it.
I've only ever played Yellow.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Half-Life 2.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh wow, that's a favorite of mine.
Portal 1 and 2.
What?
Son of a beach.
Okay.
Is the ultimate battle of sexes quiz and play on the honorable mention?
For that, because it's it was the funniest moment I've ever had in the Boochow ever. Yes, that's an honorable mention.
How about Monopoly Streets?
The Secret of Mana.
Oh, okay, now you're dead to me. Because that game is one of my favorites. So.
And this is coming from a dude who fucking loves Western RPGs. So for him to praise a JRPG.
Okay.
You're slowly dying to each and every one of us as this list goes on and on.
You guys are just
Yeah, I'm still
happier
here.
and happier that I'm leaving now. Okay, next one.
I'm still here.
Next one. Shadowrun on the Super Nintendo.
Not bad. I gotta give you a kiss on the forehead for that one.
Okay. Silent Hill 2.
Oh, that should be your top 3.
I know!
I think everybody's getting really angry at Gexup.
Don't worry.
Like kissing him and then about to kill him. Or something.
Okay. Here's some more. Here's some
Maybe
more.
after you, we should all give our favorite game just so we to
Yeah,
get even.
I will give you guys that privilege, okay? Shenmue 1 and 2!
Well, see you guys.
When Cendoo leaves you alone, when Cendoo ends, you know you screwed up.
To be fair, it ends in a cliffhanger.
Okay. At least I got Zookstar, who's still on my side. Until now, Sly 3, Honor Among Thieves.
You're just doing that on purpose now.
I think that's the best Sly game in my opinion.
Yeah, I really want to put it in the list.
Favorite.
Same.
I did not.
Screw
like
you,
that.
Mace.
Okay, get ready, because here it is. Soul Calibur.
Who cares about Soul Calibur?
I care.
I know, it's the best! But the problem is, that's the highest that the fighting games can go in my list.
It's only an honorable mention because Voldo is too disturbing to look at.
Okay, here's another one. Oh my god, how many times did I have to praise this game and it didn't make it in the list? Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage.
I'm grabbing the pitchforks.
Oh, come on. You didn't hear me freaking out about Gex mentioning Beyond Good and Evil as his honorable mention. Come on, I just rooted and said yay. I can't even just steal the goddamn book.
This is like the longest list of honorable mentions I've ever heard.
Well, I think this
would be like separate lists.
Shintai, if you ever tried to write a top favorite list, you'd have a bunch of honorable mentions. Trust me.
Okay.
No, I managed to get them on, be like 3 of them.
Guys, almost there.
Yeah.
Super Mario 64.
You son of a bitch!
Okay. Let's check who has finished this stuff yet. Except
how many bridges have been burned?
He's burning them all, so we won't let him come back.
The entire. Okay, there isn't a single bad game in the series, but it didn't make it in the list. The entire Tekken series.
Yes, there is. Tekken Advance was terrible.
I like Tekken Advance, Cendoo. I'm punching you in the face for that.
Gexup is even making each other at each other.
Hey, Gex.
Last part of the really violent.
Okay, 2 more honorable mention. One more honorable mention.
What about your top 12 worst
this one.
favorite games?
Okay, 2 more honorable mention. Doom.
Yes. How's that not in your top 12, dude? How's that?
Well, I guess we can assume there's no FPS in your top 12.
Yes.
That
means Turok 2 didn't make it in the list either.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, is that your other honorable mention?
Yeah, that's all.
Really curious.
That's all the honorable mentions. That
Wait a sec. That means Mort the Chicken made the top 12.
It might. Okay. All right, it's time now. The honorable mentions are over. Now it's time.
Thank
you. All right, Hannu. What number are we on?
Number 12.
Crash Bandicoot Warped.
Woo!
Yes.
Hey, wait a second. Wait a sec. You put Spyro ahead of that game in your list, and how is that not? Huh?
I thought about it long and hard, and to tell you the truth, it was just so hard to decide whether or not did I like Spyro 2 or Crash Bandicoot Warped better. And by the end of the day, do I really need to go back to the part where I have to chase Hunter down with that stupid minigame where the orbs had to pop out? Oh god, that was just like my least...
I admit, that was really rage-tastic.
Yes, that
was. You two are crazy. I don't know what you two are seeing. That minigame was easy.
Screw you.
Aw, I thought you let Raggedstar pick for you.
Alright, let me have my say about like Crash Bandicoot Warped. This is a game that pretty much has the least flaws over Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage. You know how I always keep saying that I really hate linear games that only has one direction. But Crash Bandicoot Warped was a major exception due to the fact that reaching from point A to B was by far some of the most fun I've ever had in a video game, because so many crates you can break. There's always an obstacle every 5 steps you take, from enemies to another leap you have to make before you hit to a bottomless pit or a trap. And I love the fact that this is the best Crash Bandicoot game ever, for the sake that it gives you a lot of variety that I could not believe. Naughty Dog got their heads out of their asses from just giving us the same game over again, and gave us an expansive world of Crash Bandicoot where we can travel through time. I mean, I fondly remember seeing Coco riding the tiger across the Great Wall of China, which was some of the most fun I've ever had. And it's not only that, I really love the fact that Crash Bandicoot was able to ride the motorcycle, able to ride the aeroplane and blast out things, the dinosaurs. Oh god, man, this game was, once again, I'm gonna say it again, the total package. I was just amazed at how much this game... I mean, like, I didn't realize it because I was just rushing about, like, finishing this game when I was recording, but, you know, this is probably one of my most replayed game ever. I even have 2 copies of this very game because I'm such a sucker of this 3D platformer. It's just like... Not only that, you also got power-ups when you beat a boss. And not to mention that the boss fights are also memorable, but they're actually the best of the series. And to put it at number 12 amongst all the other games that I've ever played, you can easily see why I was vastly disappointed with Crash Bandicoot, The Wrath of Cortex, when I got it on the PlayStation 2. It's just that, you know... This is easily, I can say that I could play Crash Bandicoot Warped. I could just automatically just jump into Crash Bandicoot Warped and not have to do a marathon of the entire Crash Bandicoot series on the PS1. Because I'm one of those guys who was such a fan of the PlayStation 1 trilogy that I just can't put myself coming back to the series.
Bazooka.
Yeah, Bazooka.
Yeah. What do you guys see in these racing levels that I don't?
I see that they're easy to get over with. That's what I see.
It's a lot fucking easier than Jak 2.
Everything is easier than Jak 2.
Not everything.
Oh, and don't get me started with Shinobi on the PlayStation 2. The hardest game I've ever played in my life. I cannot... That's the only game in existence where I can't get past through the first level.
I wanna be the guy.
Yep. That's the hardest game, yeah.
Okay, this game is just pure magic. It brings me back to the first time I got a PlayStation 1 back in 1998. And along with Gex Enter the Gecko, Spiral 1, I mean, like, now I appreciate Spiral 1 now than I did a long time ago. But Crash Bandicoot, man, I remember I was so obsessing with this game that I was just so mad that there hasn't been another linear game like this that was actually this fun. I mean, like, sometimes when you see linear games, they put you in a long path with nothing to do for the, you know, when you're reaching from your destination.
I just think it's the best Crash Bandicoot game. I've always been more of a Spyro person than Crash.
Yeah, same here.
Now... let's have Raggedstar to say the next number.
11.
Mega Man Legends 2.
Yeah.
Wow.
Take that, Retro.
This is, to me, like Legend of Zelda with robots, guns, and finally we're able to do Z-targeting, jump out everywhere we want, and it's everything that we loved about the original Mega Man Legends, and actually continue the story into a different direction. I mean, I thought it's so fascinating to find Roll's, you know, on search of Roll's mother, and then put us through a much different experience than we were expecting from the first. I mean, this game, at the time, it used to be balls to the walls hard, but after learning so much from even harder games, I finally beat this game. I'm just so proud of the fact that this game was just so fun. I mean, I really love the fact that, like, this game was allowed you to move while you're targeting your enemies simultaneously, able to jump like 20 feet high and land on the ground. Oh man, upgrades! You know, you can find upgrades, you know, like once in every while of each part of the game, and it really enhances the game significantly. There's so many things in this game that just brings a huge, gigantic smile on my face. From Trombone to Servbots to the little monkey dude. I forgot his name. Beta. And, you know, Roll, man, she was such a sweetie boo. I just wanted to make her...
Sweetie boo.
Here's another one. Hi, sweetie boo.
I'm sorry, but I never... never even heard
Overall, it's
that.
pretty cute.
She is such a God-given angel, and to see that a family member of hers is in deep trouble, you would want to do whatever it takes to help her out. And I was just really fond and amazed at this game while you were trying to go through the game. I was just blown away at the fact that this was more than just saving, Roll's mother. And for those who haven't played it yet, I am not going to go any further to the story, but the boss fights, the dungeon crawling, the expansive world, and, fully voice-acted characters. I couldn't believe that they managed to put this in a single PlayStation 1 disc. Honest to God, this is probably the best Capcom game I've ever played. Anybody, do you have any say on this?
The same thing I have to say every time you talk about it. Tron Bronze Crotch Plate. Oh.
Mega Man Legends, both 1 and 2, are like some of my favorite games on the PS1. I think they're both excellent games, and pretty much everything you said was spot on. The games are just so much fun to play. Just going down into some like unknown ruins and fighting all these like weird robots, and then getting all of the spoils, and then going back and then upgrading all of your stuff, and it's just so much fun. It just feels like every time I go back to the games, I always find something new that I didn't know before, because the games are just so big and they have just so much, filled with content. I love both of them. They're great games. Easily my favorite Mega Man games.
Yeah, mine too. Oh, it's just like, this is one of the things that I wish that like other developers can probably do with their series. I mean, like, Konami is doing this with their Castlevania series currently, but I'm just saying, like, why don't you at least try to change the formula of the game and try to do something different? If it doesn't work, just don't go back to it. But if it does work, make it into a separate series. Oh man, it's just like, to this very day, I was crushed to see that Capcom canceled Mega Man Legends 3. It was so heartbreaking.
I thought it looked kind of interesting because it was made by the people who did Prime, and Metroid Prime's really good.
Well, it could have been cool if they made it like what they did with X, make it a separate series, maybe.
Darabka, since you're speaking, say the next number.
Number 10.
Donkey Kong Country 2.
Oh, that's by a mile off.
Anyone surprised?
Yes. Not really.
No?
Not really, but it's a good game.
Pretty legit.
Yeah, it is.
It was the first game you gave a 6 out of 5.
Yes, I was about to say that. But, I remember that, like, when I first got this game, I was kind of disappointed in the fact that, like, speaking as a 5-year-old here, when I was 5 years old, I was just a little disappointed at the fact that, like, Donkey Kong got removed in this game, because this was such an ambitious title of the series, because we're talking about like the sequel of probably the most mesmerizing game from the 16-bit era. And proudly enough, I gotta say that like it was a daring move, but I love Dixie a little more than Donkey Kong, because she, it's already, everybody knows that Diddy was everybody's most played character because he was so fast and stuff. Why not have a duplicate character, but make her female, give her a long ponytail, and let her have a ponytail so strong to make her spin and hover fast enough to make her propel her like a helicopter. I just was fucking in love with the pirate scene, because the pirate scene of this very game was, at first it was really intimidating for a 5-year-old like me, because I was really kind of scared with the darker tone that they were going through with the first, in comparison to the first game. But then later on, when I started to fill into its music, got absorbed very hard with the atmosphere, and at some moments I just felt like this was an adventure of a lifetime. No doubt, this had to be a better sequel than the original because it's just like, for a game that's set.
Hey Gex, Hannu says he's got to leave.
All right, see you later, Hannu.
Hannu, would you mind?
Okay.
Hannu, would you mind saying?
Peace.
Bye,
Probably
Hannu.
not.
Thanks for
This is the
coming.
last podcast, but bye.
All right, see you later. Okay, I remember that there's like so many aspects of this game that was just like it went so far beyond the pirate theme on the ship where we were able to go on the rest of the land of seeing like the swamp, the theme park, and the castle, and so many great variety of level designs that actually felt more than like an adventure. It kind of felt like its own storytelling that didn't have its own story. I was pulled in 100% with this game, and this is one of the magic that the Super Nintendo offered very well for me as a longtime gamer. And at times like this, I kind of really wish that I never gave up my Super Nintendo collection. But at least I was able to relive all those magical experiences on the Nintendo Wii and the Wii U. So, I'm pretty disappointed that Hannu kind of had to leave, but TMcBee, do you have any say you want to say about this game?
Well, it's fun. Now that you mention it, I remember after I watched your review of the DKC trilogy, I immediately bought the first two Donkey Kong Country games on the Wii U Virtual Console, and I just had a blast with the second game because I never got the chance to play it back when I was a kid. So it was an interesting experience. And now it's, in terms of like Donkey Kong Country games or games from the DK franchise, that's specifically my #1 favorite game.
I remember playing the Game Boy version of that one, and it's really not that much different from the Super Nintendo version, minus a few less animations, but it's still quite a very good game.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also can't believe how I bet the game too, because it gets quite difficult at times as well.
Yeah.
I never beat the game.
Oh man, the first time I beat that game, it was hard as it was hard as balls, but I was just to finally beat Captain K. Rool and then free Donkey Kong, and he gave him the ultimate ultra combo ever, uppercutting him so hard that he's able to fall off the top of the castle all the way to the bottom of the ship. Awesome.
Yeah. Wow. That was pretty good. Good end right there.
The only reason why this game could not be any higher is that there's only one simple flaw I have with this game. Whenever you want to save, you have to spend 2 coins to not Cranky Kong, but the female counterpart of Cranky Kong.
Oh, Wrinkly.
Wrinkly, yes. And the only way you could possibly do that is basically just memorize all the coins where you left it off, and then just press start and select to quit. And then after you get 2 coins, you have the privilege to save at her level.
Yeah.
For that reason alone, it could not be any higher than number 10.
I've played all 3. Honestly, I think that is the best of the series, and I might even have to put it on my Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Donkey Kong has been the Donkey Kong series has been a special place in my heart ever since I witnessed the awesomeness of the first Donkey Kong game, and still to this day, I'm still looking forward to see what's going to happen next to the series, and I'm still waiting for, I'm sounding a little too picky, but I'm still waiting for another Donkey Kong 64, a fully 3D Donkey Kong game to be as good. Yeah.
I feel like that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Unless it comes out as a 3DS remake.
Hopefully. Okay, All right, Retrokaiser, would you like to say your next number?
The next one on the list is 6 if you read it upside down, but we're not, so it's number 9.
Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy.
Woo! Wow. Everyone called it.
I had a feeling it would show up.
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
I still have not changed my opinion, saying that like I prefer this kind of gameplay style where it's like the Banjo-Kazooie style of gameplay, where you have this expansive world. And they're not connected to any levels and all sorts. They're all connected into one big gigantic island, and also Misty Island, to actually feels like an incredible adventure. I mean, like, if they were going to go for another Donkey Kong 3D game since, like, Donkey Kong 64, try to do it like this way, where you have an entire island to explore, have a lot of collectibles to get, and make the game, you know, each of the challenges so fascinating. I remember fondly that when I got the PlayStation 2 for the first time, I was so pissed off at myself that I made the biggest mistake of my life by giving away all my PlayStation 1 collection for the PlayStation 2, and I got 3 disappointing games that I was very angry at myself at the time. I used to dislike Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty when I first got it on the PlayStation 2, but it grows on me now. But the other two, Spyro, Enter the Dragonfly, and Crash Bandicoot, The Wrath of Cortex, I am still mad at those games to this very day. However, but it was up to like Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy that made me actually change my mind, my full opinion on the PlayStation 2, because, man, this was the first time I've ever seen a game that didn't have a load time. Except when you boot up, when you load up the game, but there was no slowdown whatsoever. When you're entering a stage or entering a certain level, it feels like you really are there, walking right through there. And
bye, Retro. Gex, say bye to Retro real quick. He just left.
All right, see you later, Retro. I was just so fond and happy to see that this game just really felt like that adventure that I've always wanted to have, like a tropical adventure with so many things to do. This is kind of like my paradise come to life, and it's just like really amazing to see like the powers of the ecos, like green eco to fully change your health, red eco to make you stronger, blue eco to make you faster, and yellow eco to shoot out powers. It was just kind of a bummer that they didn't, expand on this kind of mythos on the sequel. In my personal opinion, that could have made Jak 2 and Jak 3 a lot more better games than they already are. It's really impossible to say that Jak and Daxter series would ever come back to this kind of formula after all the significant changes it did with Jak 2 and Jak 3. But I would still be on the edge of my seat for a Jak 4. But Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy, I just really bought into like this character duo, and I thought that this was, bar none, the best game that Naughty Dog has ever made. So, does anybody have their say on this?
Awesome game.
Same boat. I'm pretty much on the same boat as you.
Yes, I remember when it was.
Yeah, same here. I would say it's better than the sequels.
I prefer Jak 2. I prefer Jak 2, but I do admit that Jak and Daxter is the least flawed game of the series, and it's just so simple, almost perfect in my opinion. And I have deep respect for it.
Yes.
I prefer Jak 3, but Jak and Daxter is a great game.
Yes.
I remember when it first came out, it took me forever to convince my brothers to buy it.
See, this is the advantage of getting into gaming, when you're 20, so.
Yeah.
I think it's a good game.
I was going to say, I've been into gaming since I was like 4.
It's a good game. I just wanted to say real quick, I do know of another game that did what you just said about the game only loading once, and that would be Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver on the PS1 and Dreamcast. That game did the same thing.
Yeah,
yes,
nice.
It's the hallway thing. You run down hallways, so it loads.
Oh, now that you mentioned the Legacy of Kain series, I forgot to put that as the honorable mention.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
And we need another one.
Because I really love the series, but
Deception was
Defiance was the best.
Too.
Defiance was, in my personal opinion, the best of the series, but
yeah, and you only discovered it last year.
Yeah, I know.
I respectfully disagree.
Okay, Amuia.
Number 8.
The Sims 2.
Okay.
I think I think that this is probably one of my favorite methods of how you do a point-and-click gameplay. We already know that the Maxis was really good with the Sims series, starting from SimCity and all the other simulation games after it, that they were so great with how they used the mouse interface and able to point-click select any kind of object that you can afford, and then place it on any location. And as for The Sims 2, this just made me so proud to see that, such a game that didn't need to have a story, but all it is about like creation, focuses on carpeting, and most importantly, psychology that like gaming has never done before. No doubt about it. This is probably the most innovative game that made it on the list, because I remember I played The Sims 1 so much that I was so pumped up for Sims 2. And as for The Sims 2, buying the game alone, it's not enough, and it's one of those games that requires you to buy more expansion packs to actually enhance the experience. And even though...
Isn't that supposed to be a bad thing?
I know,
have to buy extra.
But that's also the same thing with DLC. But let me say here, okay? I love the fact that these expansion packs didn't feel like just like only an expansion, but it felt like an entirely different experience from vacations resorts to seasonal change to, oh man, one of the biggest improvements that The Sims 2 has over The Sims 1 is that you can actually change your, actually let your children grow up from a baby to a child to a teenager to an adult, and then, they can die as a senior. And I just love the fact that like the more amount of hours that I played on this game, just building these people's lives and making them feel happy, it just feels like I was able to actually have the privilege to actually make my dream home come true. I mean, like, I made hundreds of houses, so many family members, and so many hours of gameplay. I mean, like, give me a weekend of an entire weekend of playing nothing but The Sims, and I'll give you just like the place that you need to, that anybody would like to be at, without having the difficulty of starting to build the house from scratch and having to build the family the way they want to. But I'm willing to give out the benefit of the doubt that this game was just like so immersive at the fact that like you really feel like you're a god controlling all this AIs and just being able to like do whatever the fuck you want with it. Now, I know that The Sims 3 kind of improved the Sims 2 experience by, just giving them like getting outside of the world from what everybody like to criticize as the prison known as the home. But I think that they throw in so much realism in The Sims 3 that it just kind of ruins the whole point of The Sims by just like having so much fun and control people's lives and do whatever the fuck you want to do.
I want to say something about Sims 2. I love The Sims 2. I played a lot of The Sims 1 too, but I love, for example, that you could, in this one, you could actually also have sex and have children. And when you actually had a family, it felt more natural, it felt more like, this is really cool, because not only when you have children, you have like the genetics, like your child will be, in a sense, a random combination, and it will be always a little bit different. And I really like that, because then you could have these generation of people, and what I loved about The Sims 2 was the huge modding community that continued on and is still, it's not as active as it used to be, but it was active for years after the game was discontinued and Sims 3 came out. But there's still content being made, and I love to mod it too, where it was really crazy. And I told you this already, guys, with the Deadpool and Lobo and Link. I had so many also celebrities and whatever, and what was it? I mean, I could go on and on with Sims 2. Needless to say, I see it as a interesting. Actually, I see it as like a role-playing game where you can role-play in a sense, a normal, well, more or less normal life, you know, and I always thought, okay, I'm gonna make a normal life, but I'm gonna put in my favorite characters, you know, and have fun with that. And it was a fun game. I don't play it anymore, but I still have it, and I might boot it up one of these days again. But it's definitely, the AI in it is just, that was the most impressive thing, because your characters would interact, and certain people would not get along with other people at all, you know, and just little things like that, you know. This was really cool. Like, you could make different families, then you would go downtown, you would see them, they would say hello, they would start fights. It's such a amazing thing to have. Like, before Sims 1, there was maybe 2 games that tried to do this. One was called Little Computer People, the other one was called Alter Ego, but it was very primitive in comparison. So yeah, Sims 2, great choice, I think, personally.
You know what I really love about this game? I just really love the fact that, like, for those who are really skeptical about this game, I remember fondly that I was just, like, getting people into this game, and then later on, they not only bought the game, but a few days later, they bought the entire expansion pack because they were hooked onto this game as I was. I am just so happy that, like, you know, I met, like, a lot of great people who actually played the Sims series with me. I remember playing The Sims 1 with a bunch of girls who invited me over just to play, you know, just play The Sims together, and it's just like, oh my god. And then I had a church member who was having a Bible study at my mom's place, and guess what? He forgot to go to the Bible study because he was too busy playing on my computer on The Sims 2.
Man, I never picture, like, a guy actually playing a Sims game and enjoying it. And I would have to say, you are the first, Gexup.
Yes, it's just like, I really mean it when I said I really want a different take on games besides doing all these point A to B, destroy everything in sight formula. Let me see. Joe, your turn.
Number 7.
Chrono Trigger.
Woo! I knew this was gonna be
great
on
game.
the list.
Mm-hmm. Good choice.
I just was blown at how fucking perfect that this time traveling experience really felt. I was just really satisfied at the fact that, like, this game did not want to stop being so damn exciting at all. From time traveling from the medieval times to the prehistoric era, to the magical times, to the post-apocalyptic future after Lavos destroyed the entire world. Yeah.
I haven't played it.
I know. It's just it's one game that I'm not trying to force anybody to play it, but
I was just gonna ask, is this the DS remake or the original?
The original on the Super Nintendo.
There's also a remake on the PlayStation.
Yes, but that one has worse load times. But the one on the DS made it a lot more faster to choose your, attacks because you have a second screen. But the reason why I choose the Super Nintendo overall, even despite the fact that it doesn't have as much endings as the PlayStation version does, it just totally pushed the limits on the Super Nintendo, bar none. You know, when you played this game, it really felt like a second disc is needed. But no, the sheer fact that, like, you got, like, this great cast of characters that isn't too big and that isn't too small for a cast of characters to choose, and they all have, like, its own unique personalities. Like Chrono, even though a solo protagonist, he's really determined to be, do the most bravest thing ever by going on this journey and not have any ounce of fear. Maro, who's just like a princess who refuses to be the damsel in distress. Frog, who was just like the most epic anthropomorphic character I've ever seen, who had a tragic backstory. and he's able to just redeem himself by serving his own damn king. And also, Magus. It's amazing to have like a phenomenal antagonist who decided to be in your team. That just blew me away, and it's just like it's also even better to see that this game has multiple endings on everything, almost everything you do. I was just like so proud that such a game exists. It just really felt like that time traveling experience that I really, really want in a video game.
I really want to play it.
And triple and dual attacks. I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed that the fighting wasn't just like. I'm really sad that they didn't reuse this form of fighting system in other Square games, because this should have been the new standard. Because it's like you have enemies can attack you from different directions, and that felt more like an RPG, like a D&D game to me. Like, although you still couldn't really move anywhere, but still, you had these dual attacks and even these triple attacks, which I thought was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a game that was made by some really bigwigs, including the guy who made the art for Dragon Ball Z and
Akira Toriyama.
One guy, I don't know, Akira Toriyama. I do know his name. One guy who worked on Final Fantasy, another guy who worked on Dragon Quest. So I think it was like truly like when it comes to the 16-bit JRPGs, I think it's one of the best ones.
Yes,
if not the best, you know.
I would say I will highly agree too. I heard a lot of hype with Chrono Trigger, and once again, when I bought it on the Wii Virtual Console, I was blown away. Like, I could see why everybody said this was the best RPG on the Super Nintendo. Same thing, how people praised about Super Mario RPG, or even Earthbound/Mother series.
Before, my knowledge on RPGs was quite limited because I only liked the Pokemon series, and almost every RPG I just got kind of sick and tired of just
grinding.
Not exactly grinding. That's actually something I liked. I just didn't really like the fact that like most of these characters, most of these battle sequences, I just really disliked the fact that like enemies come out in the most unexpected time. I mean, you couldn't even predict it. And then they don't feel like they're in the same area when they're battling. It feels like they got pulled in by a warp zone and then had to battle in this one area. And that's the one thing that kind of always hold me back on loving RPGs more and more. And ever since I played and finished Chrono Trigger for the first time ever, this was back in like 2004 when I only liked the Pokemon series. When people say that like for every RPG hater that hates RPG with a great passion, once they play Chrono Trigger, they will immediately start to appreciate RPGs. They are completely right, because ever since I finished this game, this is when I start getting very, very in need for RPGs, both from Western RPGs to JRPGs. And quite frankly, this is the best Square game in my personal opinion. I know a lot of people would say that, will say in the bottom of their heart that they like the better Square game, and that's really understandable where you guys coming from, but to see that like finally my eyes were open about what makes RPGs so special, this made it in the list. I'm not saying that this is the only RPG that makes it in the list, because I did discover a few more RPGs that really did, blew me away more than Chrono Trigger. TMcBee, your turn.
Number 6!
Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines.
The heck is that?
It's a PC game.
This is based on from the tabletop role-playing game from the World of Darkness franchise called Vampire the Masquerade. And it's really amazing to see that like Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines allows you to play any kind of vampire that you so desire, from Gangrel to whatever. And guess what? They all have their pros and cons, powers and abilities, And that's what makes Vampire the Masquerade so beautiful, because speaking as a vampire fan, I always wanted a video game that makes me want to suck blood, do all sorts of missions, and have this groovy, gothic atmosphere around me when I play. And I just was amazed at the fact that, this game was the total package. I love the fact that, every vampire has their own powers and abilities, and they have their pros and cons, which makes it a very different experience when each time you play a new game or replay the game or change your experience with the game right from the start. It just it made me so happy to see that there was actually a video game that made it as much as fun as playing the actual Vampire Masquerade. But in Bloodlines, I'd like to see it as the film noir video game that I so desired since Grim Fandango. I was completely satisfied at the fact that there's so many choices that really does felt like that RPG experience that I so desire.
If you ask anybody who has been playing usually they will say D&D, and Vampire the Masquerade is one of the second games that they play, and it's actually it has a huge fan base. Redemption more, Bloodlines is different, but I think it's actually well played. They're actually working now on an MMO Vampire Masquerade game, and I
awesome.
think what I want to see more is that I want to see more other tabletop RPGs being made as video games, not just Dungeons and Dragons, because there's so many Dungeons and Dragons games, some good, some bad, some average, and but when you think about other tabletop RPGs, there's not really that many games. That Vampire only has 2 games. That's kind of a crime, I think, because there's also Werewolf the Apocalypse, and there's also Wraith the Oblivion. There's many. I'm not saying all of them would make good video games, but at least some of them.
It sucks that this game failed commercially on terms of sales, because it tried to compete against Half-Life, and fucking Activision just ruined it.
Who knows, there might be a Kickstarter, so that's cool you put this on the list anyway.
Yeah, I mean, speaking as a huge fan of vampires, especially, speaking as a guy who really loves the Underworld movies.
Underwear movies? I like them too.
Speaking as a guy that loves the Underworld movies, I really like this modern day take on vampires, where it's you're in the suburbs, you're trying to keep on a low profile for vampires, and it really felt like you are that vampire that you want to be, and you have that full control that you want to do. Not 100%, but you have that full control of what you want to do in progression to getting to where you want in the game. Multiple endings, pretty cool combat. I really love some of the powers that were given from so many of these species. And let's not forget about the variety of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, because not only you roleplay, find a mission and start a mission and get to that location of where the mission is currently being held, but also there's also gameplay variety where you can go in combat, you can shoot enemies, you can stealth, lockpicking, and so much more that just enhances the vampire gameplay experience. And I definitely love the fact that this game deserved its M rating. Video games nowadays is kind of a joke saying that there are so many games that are rated M for mature, while they lack the quote-unquote maturity compared to Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Bloodlines just has probably some of the most mature themes I have ever seen from a video game, from promoting sexism in a game, gang violence, prostitution, necrophilia, and hell, there was even a mission in this game where you have to investigate a snuff film. Dude, this game is probably the darkest game that has ever been made. If you really are one of those gamers that are willing to see a really awesome experience, I really think that Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines really needs to be in the top of the list of some of the most hardcore games ever. Only reason why this game could not be in the top 5 was because, you know that this game was rushed. And, there was a lot of glitches and a lot of gameplay faults that was not what the developers were intended to make. But thankfully, we do have those patches that actually enhances the game to its full potential.
Exactly, yeah.
Cendoo, go ahead.
Number 5.
Oddworld, Abe's Exodus.
And you almost forgot it.
Yep.
So there's no reaction to this one, huh?
Well,
No.
it's just we know you.
We already talked about it.
You made a video on it.
Yeah, I know, but I got some more things to say. Even though I might repeat myself, but I have to put it in everybody's goddamn heads to say why it has to be this high in this list. This game is art. Basically, they took the same technology of how they make the Donkey Kong series, and basically they enhanced it to an extended level where the gameplay was just like Another World or Out of This World. And better yet, it was just so expansive where you were able to communicate with AI characters, and they react very fondly. That was so revolutionary to see that your video game characters felt like they're alive. They're not in like a scripted. I mean, like they react when they see you, when you say hello, when you give them commands, when you even hit them. Oh my lord! Not only that, but you know the coolest part was like when you're able to make Abe to possess enemies, and then they're able to get possessed by you. You know, before the first one only allows you to possess only the sligs, and this time you're able to possess the animals and your own fucking farts.
Yep.
I just was in love with this game, and this is hands down my favorite 2D platformer ever, just because it just went beyond the standards of just like simple platforming and reaching from point A to B. This was just like a heroic experience just to save more Mudokons than you ever did in the first one. You have level variety that was similar to the first, but they felt a lot bigger and much more epic than the Abe's Odyssey. And Abe's Exodus, I forgot to mention this. There's a 2-player multiplayer experience on this game. But the thing is, like, you don't play it simultaneously. It's like if one person dies, then it's the other person's turn to play the game. And I also love the fact that, like, this is so amazing to see that you can create your own save. You know, your quick save. Where if you die, you go all the way back to the part that you quick saved at that moment. Beautiful game. I'm just heartbroken to see that Oddworld inhabitants, Lauren Lanning and Sherry McKenna, you know, they're still around talking about, like, the business in gaming. But it seems like nowadays they're just trying to uphold the magic of the Oddworld quintology by re-releasing the whole series in HD. And I keep saying to everybody, get yourself a buy yourself digitally on these titles, just so we can have at least one more Oddworld game.
I have a lot of nostalgia for Oddworld. They were some of my favorite games on the PS1, and I think they're great games. To be fair, I don't think they've aged perfectly over the years in some regards. I think trying to 100% them in particular is like just insane, but they're still really fun games, and I'm looking forward to the remake that they're coming out with for the first game. I think that's going to be good. Yep. But just in general, I think anyone who just likes just really well-made, really unique games should at least give the Oddworld games a chance, just because of how different they are.
It's something that, like, I'm still encouraging people to give this series a chance and understand why, you know, a pretty unique series like this deserves a little more credit, and it just breaks my heart to see that, like, you know, this is probably the last time we're ever going to see the Oddworld series, because, you know, for the longest time, they said that they were going to make the Hand of Odd, which was a Oddworld real-time strategy game, because they do know that, like, being able to command Mudokons and give them orders, it was a really amazing experience. And also, they were also saying that they were going to make Citizen Siege, which was the Oddworld movie. That never happened. And it seemed to me that, like, thanks to fucking EA, who ruined everything that was so great about Oddworld by not giving two shits about the series. It really makes me want to cry that, like, what could have been a great, phenomenal series that's still going today just stopped when they were getting to their best ever.
But
and also, Joe and Rex have to leave soon, they said.
All right.
Yeah, but
I ate.
Thanks for inviting me on the show.
See you later, Joe.
Later, man.
And
I'll be looking forward to your review. Okay. Since Raggedstar is about to leave in 20 minutes, I'll give her another chance.
Number 4.
Metal Gear Solid.
Wow, this kind of makes your
anticlimactic. Wait. 1 is better than 3?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I was so conflicted if I liked the third one or the first one the best. Yesterday, when we were going through the mailbag, I could still have that emotional attachment with when I had, at first I thought this was like those operation games where you have to save the world and to stop this terrorist operation from this nuclear strike, which was really plausible, and it really felt like this was a message that the world could end anytime, any moment now with the nuclear strike. The boss fights and going through Shadow Moses and trying to stop this terrorist operation that was just like so compelling. And then by the time you got to Psychonauts, which really lost my shit when the first time I played that. I don't know, it's just like, I played that game first thing when I was at my friend's house in 1998, and we all stopped playing Metal Gear Solid because we all lost our shits with Psycho Mantis. Like 3 years later, when I got myself a copy of the game and finally defeated Psycho Mantis, I was just heartbroken to just actually see how sufferable a character who reads minds and have that kind of power. That was the first part that actually got me moving to fucking tears at the fact that seeing a character who had this curse about reading people's minds and wasn't able to silence anybody because they're all alive and they all want to destroy each other. He had a good excuse to join Foxhound, have his revenge on the world. And then later on, when you face the rest of these bosses, especially Sniper Wolf, oh man, it's just like, these are the moments that I really had to think, that really reflects on life itself, where they were talking about passing on genes to the future generations, to what actually love is, especially that moment where we lost Meryl and Otacon talked about like how much he was so in love with Sniper Wolf, even though they met each other only a few times. And what was begun as a terrorist operation that needed to be ended by a single man's mission somehow turned out to be like a huge, gigantic redemption story where Snake is facing all of his goddamn demons from the past that's coming back to haunt him. And I was so fascinated to see that, like, everything that was about Snake, it wasn't his fault. It was all Big Boss's, Naked Snake's fault. Because this is all the sins of the father that was all put onto him, that was carried and lifted like a family curse. And, I really wanted to say Metal Gear Solid 3 is my favorite games of the series, because I really felt emotional to Big Boss, but the rest of the bosses, other than Big Boss, they weren't as sympathetic and as heart-touching as the bosses from Metal Gear Solid. It's just like, it felt like they're really real people who had a huge backstory and had a purpose, and it's just like, it really reflects now to you that not all of these people are bad. And that's really great, phenomenal storytelling when they get you out of one perspective of being the hero all the time and then actually see how everything could be pulled in together and they all are placed perfectly in the right place. And that's the reason why I really think that, like, Metal Gear Solid is probably some of the few games in the world that really tackles on the subjects of life and nailed it perfectly. Even though this has started as action stealth game, it gave us more than what we all expected.
And that's why a lot of people praise it so much.
I know. I love the gameplay where you're able to sneak around, hear the enemies say, "Huh? Whose footprints are these? Huh? What was that?" And the boss fights. Even though I said they were emotional when you defeat them, they were so strategic, fun. Especially facing the Vulcan Raven, where you have to use every ounce of your devices to take this guy down. And man, that was completely climactic when you finally reached to the last part of the game, and then it left you with so many answers on so many questions after the game that was kind of answered in the sequels, but they kind of turned into truth that I didn't want to hear. But anyway, it's just like the fascination of like seeing like all the issues about the nuclear strikes and all that stuff from the Cold War that's still carrying on to this day. It really makes you think about politics, military tactics. I mean, like, Hideo Kojima was a fucking genius to actually think out of the box and actually throw everything in the game. I mean, not only the game, throughout the Metal Gear Solid series, when he invented stealth camouflage, when he put in CQC, when he gave us boss fights that are so varied and so well crafted, challenges that makes not only gameplay strategic, but also like real life military tactics to feel actually plausible if you can learn so much from the series and put it in your very own life. Man, this is all smart stuff, and it's really great to see that video games can be this intelligent, even though sometimes the Metal Gear Solid series likes to take itself humorously once in a while. But still, Metal Gear Solid, I gotta put it in the list because it still holds up very well for me. So Shintai, what do you have to say about Metal Gear Solid?
I love Metal Gear Solid. Please don't get me wrong. I still love the original, especially the PS1 version. Fuck the GameCube version. That version sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, if only Hannu was here.
Yeah, if only Hannu was here. He would say, "Shut up."
Well, what's wrong? What's so bad about the GameCube version?
I just hated the fact that like it was way too similar to Metal Gear Solid 2, which is also one of my most despised games of all times. It used to be one of my most despised games of all time, but I just did not like the fact, some of the cutscenes that they're redoing again, it had less spirit and it has less of a message, and it has less soul than it did from the original.
Isn't it kind of sad that a GameCube game, which is more powerful than the PS2, looks worse? It
doesn't look worse. The graphics, they actually have eyes.
No, I'm saying it doesn't look as good as Metal Gear 2.
It doesn't even look that appealing, if you ask me. I mean, like, it's amazing that, like, Hideo Kojima refuses to... I mean, not only Hideo Kojima, but the fans refuses to change anything from the original Metal Gear game. That's the reason why, when we were looking at Metal Gear Solid 4, and then, when they do the flashback sequences, they did not want to change one bit of the graphics or the imagery or what was put in the very first game.
I liked that they did that. I thought that was pretty cool.
If only if I didn't have, like, all this stuff happening in my life right now, I would so love to finish gaming in the 90s and then ended my days of reviewing the entire Metal Gear Solid chronology, but... since life is begging for me to get start, it's just my final time to actually give out why I really, really love Metal Gear. And believe it or not, this is the first game out of the 4 that earns itself a 7 fingers out of 5. So, what other?
You lied to us. You said you were saving that for number 1 only.
Time has changed, my friend.
Can I say the next one because I have to go on BRB for a bit?
Okay, Zookstar.
Number 3.
We have to put in the Ratchet & Clank game in here. Come on, we all know it.
Of course.
But
Commando?
surprisingly, time has changed.
Oh boy.
Oh man, I this is finally my redemption from putting in the worst video game award show that we've ever done in 2009 to finally put in Ratchet & Clank: A Crack in Time.
Yes.
Oh
yes,
my
yes.
god! Oh my god!
What?
Someone actually predicted
Whoa.
that you put this in your list.
What? Oh jeez.
Oh,
I thought for sure you could go Commando.
I think that's respectable. I like that game too.
I love the Ratchet & Clank series from the PlayStation 2 with a mighty fucking passion.
Yeah, but all this time you've been telling us that Going Commando was your favorite.
I know. Going Commando was a huge leap in the Ratchet & Clank series, just like Mega Man 2 was a huge leap for that series. I was just kind of like arguing at the fact that unlike other Ratchet & Clank games, Going Commando had two racing stages, 2 gladiator stages, and 2 open world, destroy all the enemies, and grabbing crystals type of stages. But still, I have to really think about how long has it been since I've been a Ratchet & Clank fan. And I keep saying over and over again that this is my favorite video game series over and over again. And, for a very good video game series, it had to have a good, not exactly an ending, but, when they were doing the Future Trilogy, that was a good culmination. That was like some of the best storytelling I've ever seen from a 3D platformer. Not only that, this is the best Clank's gameplay ever. I mean, being able to... Okay, minus the fact that Clank is not a giant like he was in the original trilogy. I really love the fact that, playing as Little Clank alone never felt this good. Because, every Ratchet & Clank game, they always get better and better with the Clank's gameplay. And it felt just as good to finally see playing as Clank and Ratchet, separately was both equally as good. The concept of time travel, I mean, not exactly time traveling, but time control, it really was just mind-blowing to see that you can actually make your character, your enemy slow down. You can make recordings of yourself, and also the combat was really, really fun. And also for Ratchet, it makes returning Clank and Ratchet together into as one team again felt so exciting. I kept saying Ratchet and Clank did not get back together as a team again, and Ratchet and Clank Crack in Time, this could have been a flop, but no, this made it so much greater to have them together as a team. Ratchet's gameplay, it did not even decrease at all, even despite the fact that there's no Rhino 2, which I do praise the all living hell as the best weapon of the Ratchet & Clank series. Man, his side of the gameplay was so expansive. I was just so amazed that, not only you can select levels, but you can also travel through space, either decide to go through the next stage. And, each stage takes even longer, I repeat, longer to beat than the regular Ratchet & Clank stages. I mean, you can even choose to go to the planet stages, defeat enemies in sight whenever they appear between levels, or you can go to these tiny asteroid fields and little planets to capture zonies. The first time I played it, that was probably the most magical space exploration experience that I've always wanted since my desire of playing Mario Galaxy for the first time.
And the hover boots, best gadget ever.
Yeah, it really felt like Jet Grind Radio mixed with Sonic the Hedgehog Sonic Adventure gameplay when you're rushing so fast. I mean, when you use the hover boots from the previous Ratchet & Clank game, you have to double tap R2 to actually boost up fast. But the hover boots from Ratchet & Clank, oh man, that was so fun when you were able to move in any kind of direction. It feels incredibly smooth, and the presentation, oh my god, it was just mesmerizing. I am so proud that Insomniac Games kept the fans of the Ratchet & Clank series this goddamn satisfying. And most of all, the reason why it also had to be my third favorite game of all time is because, hell, This is the very game that won the Naughty Dog versus Insomniac series that I've done 3 years ago. Is there anything more I need to say?
Oh, man.
Rags, anything to say before you go?
I can't really explain too much in the time that I have, or else I'll be rambling. I might actually make my own list, since I pretty much have it already written up. But it is my favorite Ratchet & Clank game, and I actually replayed it recently just to get myself prepped for the next one. And it's still my favorite one, even after playing Ratchet & Clank 2 a bit today.
Actually, that's while you were off the call, that's something I proposed, that we'd all do our own top 10 favorite in honor of Gex and stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think of that idea?
I have mine pretty much all written up. I can pretty much finish it by tonight.
Sweet.
Work on that.
Yeah, you could do it in written form if you can't do videos.
It will be written. It will be written.
Now you guys can call bullshit on me because I kind of stole Zookstar's surprise when he kept saying Up Your Arsenal is the best game of the Ratchet & Clank series until you see his top 10 favorite 3D platformers and he put a Cracking Time in there.
Oh really, mate?
It was not my intent to steal that. By the end of the day, I saw everybody's point of view of like, being that this is the best conclusion I've ever seen from a 3D platformer series, the final installment of the Ratchet & Clank Future series.
Actually, the first one, there's going to be another one. The new one is going to be a continuation of it, like an epilogue.
Oh, that was so great! Of Angela Cross made it in this Future series.
It was more of a cameo.
A Cracking Time. I mean, like, the best part after beating the game was hearing that credit music, that electronic credit music that felt like it was an accomplishment to be a fan of the Ratchet & Clank series and have that celebrated music at the credit scene that felt like it was a musical celebration for the series. Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of people think that I really hate next-gen gaming, which I do have a lot of gripes about, like, upgrades, and test your patience on that stuff, but at least give me the credit for actually giving a lot of praise and props for Ratchet & Clank: A Cracking Time. It took me a while to actually feel the magic and realize what was offered in this game.
So it took a Ratchet & Clank game for you to put a current gen game in your top 10.
That's how great the fucking Ratchet & Clank games are to me.
Interesting that you picked A Cracking Time, because I would say, like, don't get me wrong, Cracking Time is good. I would say, in terms of Ratchet & Clank games, that would be my top 3. It's funny, because at first, I had some nitpicks about the game. I think it's probably because of how the cinematics were kind of inconsistent, but you gotta give... But also at the same time, there was a lot of content, and the animations are just fantastic. Like, the way the characters move is really spot on. And then, I think I played it the second time, and I felt like, you know what? This isn't a bad game. Despite some things I disagree with, some people agree with. Like, it's still a good Ratchet & Clank game.
I would say, for me, A Cracking Time is my second favorite Ratchet game. Number 1 for me has to be Up Your Arsenal.
Gexup, can you reveal number 2 before Rags disappears?
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Unless you guys are still going to be at this when I'm back at 7:30.
No.
Oh, no.
Maybe, no.
I think it might be Shintai's time.
Epic 20-hour podcast.
Okay, Shintai.
Number 2!
Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Oh, snap.
Nice.
It just feels so rewarding to have a copy of this game, considering that this is one of the rarest games out there. Because already from when this game was being released, they only made 33,000 copies, and it sucks to see that like a lot of people don't really understand the magic of the Sega Saturn. I mean, I was just amazed that, they were able to turn a shoot-'em-up on-rail 3D shooter game into a well-crafted, masterful RPG. I stick down to my deepest opinion to say that the Panzer Dragoon series is actually my favorite Sega series ever.
With only one dud in the series.
Yeah, the Game Gear. But anyway, I just thought that this game was the RPG that I've always wanted to see. Because, considering that I was a huge Pokemon fan, and I really have a little issues about, like, turn-based RPGs to be a character standing still. I know that a lot of people really like that. It kind of, like... yes. It kind of makes me not... It kind of makes me wonder if you actually do this in real life. Does this actually make it feel like an epic battle, or does this make it feel stupid? But what makes Panzer Dragoon feel very logical on the turn-based combat system, which is actually my favorite turn-based combat system ever, is the fact that, like, you know, your enemies are at the center on every battle you're in, and it's up to the player to decide if they want to fly to the left, fly onto the right side of the enemy, fly in front of them, or fly behind them. And you got a radar in the middle, at the bottom middle screen, that tells you which is their weakness area, which is the area where you will get the most damage from. And oh man, it's like, I also like the fact that, like, you only have one party member in this turn-based RPG, because, you know, it's following the Panzer Dragoon series. This dragon can shoot out, like, multiple lasers, so this makes it suitable to actually hit multiple enemies. You don't have to worry about, like, party clans losing a lot of health and you have to focus on one. No! Everything in this game was just, like, magic! I really felt uplifted and embraced throughout the game. This is the whole purpose why I like underrated games and don't really, like, really agree with the mainstream audience saying, like, like something like Call of Duty is the best game ever, because deep down inside, when you're looking at it, what everybody dug up the ground and found these fool's gold and say that this is the best game ever, you have a gut feeling saying to yourself that, like, there are better games out there. I have to make a journey for myself to see what is that one game. I'm not trying to make myself special and say, like, oh, this game is the most underrated game of all time. No, that's not me. But it always felt like a great journey to actually find these unknown games.
Rags is leaving.
Alright, bye-bye, Rags.
See you guys.
Bye, Rags.
Thanks for coming.
Take care.
I really thought, to myself that, like, I really want to play some of these obscure games just to surprise myself. And to see what is that one game that's inching, because it always feels like it's my duty to actually show these games that I thought that really deserve some more attention. I'm not trying, I am so anti-hipster, okay? I can really hate some of the people that would say, ooh, this is mainstream and all that stuff, because my favorite game of all time is actually the most mainstream game you can even come up with. As my second favorite game of all time, I think my journey is closed to actually found the most underrated game I've ever seen in my life. This is kind of like that gut feeling duty that I have deep down inside to actually introduce these games to other people. I'm happy to see people got themselves into the Oddworld series, trying out the Gex series and realizing its magic that I felt, but oh god, it just makes me feel so heartbroken to see that, like, Panzer Dragoon is just, like, such a magical experience to fly up in the air and destroy as many enemies as possible, Star Fox style, and some of my favorite movies of all time, Dragonheart, into a video game, and being able to, be set in the post-apocalyptic world and trying to stop evil and stuff. I mean, like, I was in love with the characters. We can name our dragon and we can name our main character, but it doesn't change the fact that, like, the very character that you play as is named Edge. I mean, like, this game was a huge step in the RPGs in general, because just imagine yourself back in 1997, you witnessed Final Fantasy VII, and then the following year, you witnessed Panzer Dragoon Saga, where everything is voice acted, the CG, and everything is in 3D. None of the characters are in 3D polygons. They're on front of a painting background like most of the RPGs. Not to say that they're all bad, but I've just found a lot of effort given to Panzer Dragoon Saga. The effort that they put into, it's just like they made a very compelling story that really was compelling, and it just like, by the time you reached to the end of the game, you felt whole. I just thought Panzer Dragoon was so phenomenal. At the beginning of the game, it was so amazing. It was amazing how they tried to change the formula of the storytelling, because at first, you know, when we witnessed this girl, Azel, where she was lying as a stone, and we thought she's going to be the damsel in distress, and she got captured by the villain, but no, she decided to join forces with those guys, turned her back, and then you have an epic battle of Edge and Azel with their dragons. That felt like as epic as Goku versus Frieza, and I just was so amazed at like storytelling this compelling, an adventure campaign that felt so immersive, and this is everything I want from a dragon. And hell, leveling up and level grinding never felt so rewarding, because every time you defeat a very special boss or gain a specific level, your dragon evolves. And if you don't like the look of the dragon, you can always customize its stats to change its colors and stuff. Why couldn't there be another RPG that followed this direction? I may never know. I fucking love Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Never played it. I heard a lot of it, but I never played it.
It's way too collectible. It's way too hard to get for any of us to own it.
And now that you mention, this is a pretty innovative RPG, how you explain it, Gexup. And of course, you have to mention, out of the blue, saying it is the most underrated game of all time. And it's true because of the whole Sega Saturn not selling too well. So I can see why you make that comment about of this specific game.
It's actually way cheaper to import the Japanese copy than to buy an American copy here.
Oh, yeah. Believe it or not, I bought the American copy on eBay, but
for how much?
Oh God, like it included Panzer Dragoon 2 Zwei, and Panzer Dragoon Saga into one mailing.
Oh no,
okay, no! Listen to me. This was an ultimate steal. It only costed $420.
Wow, that's still a lot of money.
Yeah, but that's basically what Saga costs on its own right now.
Oh God.
The first one's about a $20 game. The second one's about $100-something.
Yeah, but it's precisely for that reason that makes me go, hey, Sega, you release Guardian Heroes on X-Blah. Just do it with this game too. Come on, why not?
They can't, dude. They can't. They were asked about that. They can't. They lost the source code for Saga.
Lies!
Wow.
They can just dump ISO.
For that reason alone, where it said that, you know, they lost the source code for Panzer Dragoon Saga, it has been and will always remain as a Sega Saturn exclusive. I'm not going to say I'm the only one in the world that realizes that Sega Saturn's full potential, because there has been a lot of Sega Saturn fans that I've met that said that the Sega Saturn was more powerful than the PlayStation 1, and it could have been, you know, the best system of all time. If only they didn't have fucking Bernie Stoller to say RPGs would not work here in the US.
Spec-wise, there really isn't a world of difference between the Saturn and PlayStation. PlayStation was easier to program for too, so.
I think one of the problems with the Sega Saturn was because I remember when the Sega Saturn came out, and it was successful for a short while, but the problem was the PlayStation just, for some reason, it just had some better, I don't know, advertisement or something. Back then, stuff like anime and manga and like games that featured the style were just not, these bigwig dudes didn't know that there was potential in them, you know. There was a couple of games being released, but they didn't believe in the sales just yet, you know. Now they would have released it without a thought, but...
Also, the launch of the Saturn was really bad. It cost there was only one game out for it. It cost $100 more than the PlayStation, and because they didn't have enough Saturns to go around, a lot of stores refused to sell Sega products since they didn't get any shipment of them.
Okay, I think it would be really great if all of you guys... Oh man, I'm so sad to see that Zookstar couldn't make it because for technical problems over there, but it'll be really great.
And we started at 11, and now we're at 6.
Yes, I know.
Let's finish this up, okay?
All right,
Honestly.
everybody simultaneously say the next number.
All right, countdown.
Let's recap, shall we? Number 12, Crash Bandicoot Warped. Number 11, Mega Man Legends 2. Number 10, Donkey Kong Country 2. Number 9, Jak and Daxter The Precursor Legacy. Number 8, Sims 2. Number 7, Chrono Trigger. Number 6, Vampire The Masquerade Bloodlines. Number 5, Oddworld Abe's Exodus. Number 4, Metal Gear Solid. Number 3, Ratchet and Clank A Crack in Time. Number 2, Panzer Dragoon Saga. And finally,
Number 1.
Number 1. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
What?
Wow.
What?
It's a freaking shocker.
Yes,
Gex game.
this is really my favorite game of all time.
You don't even have Gex. The guy who's called Gexup, doesn't he have Gex as in his top 10
I gave
at
him
all?
an honorable
Top 12?
mention.
Dude, my avatar is Sly Cooper, and I'd have a Sly Cooper game.
You didn't even mention Gex one in the okay.
I only mentioned
sorry.
honorable
I
mention.
Yeah,
He
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, I'm saying that you only mentioned it in the
Yes.
honorable mention.
I'm telling you guys, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is my favorite game of all time because this is probably not only the only video game, but the only entity that allows me to go back in the 1990s, have that same atmosphere that I'm familiar with from the 90s movies like Terminator 2, Con Air, and so many more that actually brings me back to those times. I am a huge fan of the sandbox game genre, and there hasn't been another sandbox game that even dominated the awesomeness of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And I know a lot of people will be asking me, are you anticipating for Grand Theft Auto 5? Yes, but I'm not expecting it to be at all better than Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And I'll tell you, I got so many fucking reasons why I fucking love Grand Theft Auto so much. Grand Theft Auto was just the complete package. It had everything that I really want in a video game. It has gang wars. It has so many vehicle variety that you want to ride up to. Different environments from this suburban streets to Hollywood, to the middle of the desert, to even so many locations in the sandbox world that I could not even believe was implemented in a singular DVD PS2 disc. Oh man, this game is impossible to beat in a single sitting, but that's alright. That's what makes this game so massive. I mean, I could not believe how fun this game really is. For sure, the sheer fact that I was just so happy at the fact that, like, I feel like I'm back in the 1990s with all the music being played on the radio. The outdated expressions that nobody even says anymore. Hell, even the hip-hop and grunge culture that feels alive and well. This is all the shit this is my shit here in this game. I always play at least, a whole playthrough of a game, almost like once a year, each time I pick up this game and play it, because I don't think I am at all at the point where I'm sick of it. This is just the game that refuses to hold back. I mean, like, the mission variety, that's some of the best things that this game had to offer, from helping, help destroying the ballas, helping Officer Tenpenny, helping, help the hippie dude named Peace. Oh man, and there's not a lack of anything in this game. I know there was a bunch of glitches, and there was a lot of moments in the games that were not intended for the game like this. But I just think that like this is the game that was made for a person like me who is obsessed with this decade, and I'm just really happy at the fact that like this game fully delivers.
It's a really good game. I agree. I can definitely respect that you would put it as your number one. There's tons of content in the game, tons of things to do. I think it's one of those games that you could come back to even like years later and find things in it that you never knew was in the game. And I think there's something to be said about games like that just are so filled with content and just have so much replayability that you just come back to and just be like, oh man, look at this, is still finding new things in this game that I've played time and time again.
Yes.
It's a really good game.
I don't agree with you, but I respect your choice, and this is still really a good game that does fit well as the number one.
I haven't played San Andreas. I've seen somebody played it, but I haven't played it myself to get the whole experience. But I can understand why people would say it's one of the best PS2 games of all. But I said that, I could see why people say it's the best PS2 game of like in their top 10s at least. And so basically that's all I gotta say about San Andreas. I haven't played it, but I can see why people like that game. Oh, and by the way, what about the whole hot coffee?
Best moment ever. I'm just kidding. It is controversial. I think it was unnecessary to put in the game, but it is what it is.
On the one hand, if it's an adult game, I don't have a problem with in an adult game having sex, but if it's a game, so I don't see a big problem with it, because I think violence is actually much. The thing about American censorship is they had always a problem with sexual content way more than with violence.
Yeah, that's true.
In Europe, it's the other way around. Like in Germany, they didn't have such a big issue with sexual content. They would have specific ratings and stuff for different things, but violence was always a bigger problem, and they would censor that much more. And you can think about what is worse, I mean, sex is a natural thing and we shouldn't be ashamed about it. On the other hand, was it necessary? Was it kind of exploitative? I think so too, and that didn't make or break the game really that much. And I think it was kind of like they wanted to have something controversial because it kind of, in a way, sold their game, because Grand Theft Auto was like Mortal Kombat, and the controversy kind of helped sell it, like rap albums and stuff, where they also sing about controversial, also often about sex and and about women in kind of a demeaning way, and stuff like that,
I'm just a little surprised because you've never really said anything about sandbox games before.
I did. My very last video game genre episode was on sandbox games.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah, and that was kind of hinting on what was going to be my number one pick, because I meant every word about why I love sandbox games.
What about Saints Row the Third, though?
Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to ask, because I've been fucking and why Kaiser's not here, because that game is, if you like sandbox game, this gangster sandbox game, and you like also games that are, more colorful, more over the top, you really need to play that, Gexup. You will, I think you will love it.
I did play it, and I did enjoy it. But, like I said earlier, this is the only game in existence that actually takes me back to these moments of what was the 90s like. I don't expect everybody to have the same reaction as I did, but I just, not 1 minute that I felt I was bored playing this game. Anything you want to do in this game, just do it. There's no limitations except getting killed by the cops, getting more of the law enforcement to get on your ass, but still, I just refuse to let this game go, because for the longest time since I started this review, started making my list of my favorite games of all time, Not once did Grand Theft Auto San Andreas ever lost its number one spots. That's the thing. If this game has been in your number one spot for the longest time, and it still is, it has to be the right answer as your favorite game of all time.
I will still say, as your best friend or one of your best friends, I am still surprised that you ended up with this as your number one.
Yeah, I never told anybody what was my favorite game of all time. And surprisingly enough, this ended up as number one. If Zookstar was here, if there was only one person I wish that was still online with us, thank you, Zookstar, for making your best review you have ever done. Because when he did the Grand Theft Auto retrospective review, he totally nailed everything that was so fucking awesome about San Andreas that I couldn't even do a review of that game myself. For that reason, I have to thank Zookstar for being like that reviewer that actually perfected the reviewing on that game. And for that, everybody, we have come to a close of the last time we're ever going to do the Boochow Radio podcast.
For now, don't make any promises, though.
Never
You never
promise.
know.
It's an open ending. That's what some people like for some reason.
Yes.
For that, everybody, I'd like to say thank you very much for staying connected with me throughout all these years. And, thanks very much for staying tuned, even though this episode is quite possibly the longest podcast episode in existence.
No, it's not.
At least for us.
Well, but there was that whole one thing VK did.
But it was worth it to actually give you guys my final moments right here on the show. And, Cendoo has agreed to, post up my collection video that I did with High Wings and I, because it's sad to see that High Wings couldn't make it on the show, but he's with us in our hearts, and at least he made it in my collection video, which is going to be my last appearance you guys will ever see of me. And we come to a close to say thank you very much, everybody, for appearing on the last episode on the Boochow Radio podcast.
Yes, and Kim, I just want to say, I think I speak for my fellow co-hosts and fans. Thank you, Gexup, for years of entertainment.
You're welcome. And anybody who wants to say their final words before we shut this program off indefinitely?
I have a quick suggestion. Since we've all kind of decided that we're going to also, in respect for your farewell, to do a top 10 video game list as well, I would like everyone that's currently in the call to tease not your number one, but just one of, you don't even need to say the number, but just one of the games that you're going to put in your list. Just say it right now, give a little bit of a quip about it before we go, to give people a taste of what our lists are going to be like.
Ooh. Probably the most random pick in mine is,
Persona 4.
Well, that's not the one I was going to tease, but fine, I'll pick that one then.
One of my favorites definitely would be Deus Ex. The
Okay.
first one.
Yeah.
That's a good pick. That's a good pick.
Good. Honestly, I think I'll go for the most obvious.
More the chicken?
No.
Sly Cooper.
Okay.
Mirror's Edge.
I'm going with the obvious, like Amuia, Beyond Good and Evil. You're gonna
Awesome.
see it somewhere on that list.
How about
Imagine-
you, Shintai?
That is an easy one. Devil May Cry 3.
Oh, yeah.
All right, everybody.
Alright.
Thank you very much for, listening to Boochow. I encourage everybody to keep in tune for itstayletime.net, because you may never know when I might kind of come back and make a cameo appearance or make a special guest appearance. And
The It's Tail Time movie. Woo.
and also, all these members on itstayletime.net still has the strength to keep going on with reviewing on the site. So please keep up with the work. And
Yes, and a shout out to all the staff who couldn't make it here.
Yep. Just because Daddy's retiring doesn't mean that the kids have to.
okay, everybody, for the last time ever, we are gonna say Boochow!
For now.
Boochow.
Boochow.
Boo with Mr. Chow.
Boochow!